Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right. I am John Palacio.
And I'm Marlene Cuellar, and thank you for joining us this morning.
It is a lovely Wednesday morning. We call it Hump Day, but nonetheless, we're looking good. It's beautiful weather outside.
That's
feeling good.
Right. And we're going to check in with our weather in just a bit and find out what we can expect. We know it should be getting gradually warmer.
Oh my goodness. Yesterday it was like, whoa, really? This is how you want to feel?
I know. And there may be a cold front in the near future, but we, of course, have to get those latest updates to know for sure.
Definitely. But nonetheless, like we mentioned, you know, one of the things I like starting my morning out as by saying, start your morning right.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. But like we're right in terms of the weather. It is lovely. It is a Wednesday morning, and we're feeling so beautiful today.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and read the prepared forecast for today. And so the general situation is for mainly fair, warm and dry conditions prevail as a moderate to fresh southeasterly airflow dominates over our area.
In the 24-hour forecast, generally fair with little or no rainfall is expected.
All right, our winds are going to be moving from the southeast at 10 to 20 knots with gusty winds. So that makes for a moderate to rough sea. And for people headed out to sea, there is a small craft caution in effect for occasionally gusty winds and locally rough seas.
All right, what does that say for our temperatures? Along the coast, highs for today will be as high as 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Inland, 92 degrees Fahrenheit, and up in the hills, 84 degrees Fahrenheit.
All right, and for tonight, it's going to be 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 74 inland, and 70 in the hills.
All right, and our overnight temperatures, similar conditions to continue on Thursday. Then isolated showers may develop late Thursday night.
Okay. All right. Warm, windy day at least.
Yeah, you know, and the thing about it, especially being on the coast, looking at all the tourists when they come in, they walk that coastline because and they take a lot of pictures. They love the breeze, they love the wind, and they could tell you know what, this is a lovely country. This is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's starting to feel a bit like March weather, and that is my absolute favorite weather for the. Last night was so windy.
Last night was. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I think on Monday, feeling some breeze, and then I said to myself, the summer weather, it's coming in.
Yeah, everybody knows I love March. I mean, I don't think it's just me. It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, yeah.
It's sunny and windy, and it's what is typically described as beautiful days. So.
Definitely. Kite time.
Yeah. All right, we got to get moving into our eye opener for this morning. And our eye opener taken from, we're shifting gears at this time.
Okay.
As we have so we missed that call. But as we have been reporting, we do have a reporter, Hippolyta Novello, who is in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yeah.
He is following the Lev Derman trial for us here at Channel 5, and he's been providing nightly reports as well.
Which, you know, and I think that's a very good way to start things off in terms of getting the updates from there. Belizeans would want to know, and there is a strong line between getting hearsay or seeing it for yourself. So with Hippolyta being there, of course, you stream it online. It brings a great feeling that we're actually there. We're actually dealing with this firsthand.
Yeah. All right, well, we're gonna try to get that call back again. It seems that we've lost it. In the meantime, we'll do our eye opener and get a bit of motivation started for this morning. Okay. And so our eye opener taken from dailyom.com goes like this. When children are spoiled, we do them a great disservice because they're not being allowed to earn and learn. Parents are moved by instinct to love, nurture, and provide for their offspring because our children are so much a part of us. We want to see them blissfully happy. Also, our own desire to be liked, materialist pressures, and a fervent wish that our children have everything we lacked as youngsters can prompt us to spoil them. However, while it might seem that buying your child expensive gifts will give them fond memories of childhood, or that you can heal your emotional wounds by doting on your sons and daughters, you may be unconsciously interfering with your child's evolutional development. One of the most precious gifts you can grant your children is the true independence they gain when they learn to earn what they covet and become stewards of their own happiness. Try allowing your children to experience life to the fullest. Let them work and earn what they want. When the time comes for them to go to college and enter the workforce, you will have the confidence that you have raised a child that can both enter and contribute to society confidently.
Wow, I love it. I love it, especially being a parent. You know, when children are spoiled, we do them a great disservice because they're not being allowed to earn or learn. And I'm right there with it. I totally understand the situation there. See, we do want our children to have an independent mind. I've listened to a lot of folks saying, you know what, children are actually speaking when you ask them to speak, not to speak their mind. And I think that if we're able to give them that independence of mind, then we actually give them a service, not a disservice. But spoiling them, like it mentioned, could definitely take a lot away from them. What is spoiling them? And this is what we know as traditional. Give them anything they want. Let them do whatever they want. They can go wherever they want. That could definitely be a disservice to them as well, because it doesn't give them that. We're not doing too well with them. I think we've got Polo on the line.
All right, yeah, I was sorry to cut you off. It seems we have gotten our call connected there. Good morning.
Hi, morning, Marlene. Morning, John.
Good morning,
Hi.
Polo.
How are you today, Hippolyta? Staying warm?
Hopefully.
Yeah, as warm as I could, Marlene.
Oh, the tropical weather in Belize is a lot more favorable, right?
I miss it so much.
But nonetheless, we appreciate the sacrifice to be chilled there in Utah to provide us the latest updates as to what's happening with the Lev Derman trial. So let's start off with what happened yesterday. Yesterday, Kingston was supposed to take the stand. However, that was delayed. Let's start with that.
Yeah, well, it was expected, as you mentioned, that Jacob Kingston would have taken the stand yesterday. However, there was the revision of a video deposition given back in July 2019 by one of the key witnesses in the trial, that there were about 4 videos that was entered into the court records, and each of those videos were about an hour and a half each. So that took us to the afternoon. And I think it was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon that Derman's attorney, Mr. Mark Galagos, told the court that in the morning, Derman hadn't received much of his medication. So they were breaking for the day. Not much. Belize wasn't mentioned much. Belize was mentioned once, and that was during the video deposition. The prosecution was trying to establish connections and links and several meetings that Derman was present. And the witness said that there was a dinner held in a Russian restaurant in Miami in December, I believe it was 2012. And thereafter, the group of 20 went to Nikki Beach in Miami as well. And he did mention that present was the ex-president of Belize. No names are called, and we don't have an ex-president. We don't have a president in Belize. So, the institution didn't much touch on that angle. They just carried on. But that was kind of the only time Belize was mentioned. Today, one witness is to be called up before Jacob Kingston. We are not sure how long that witness will be on the stand this morning. but it is the plan that after that witness testified that Mr. Kingston will then take the stand. I was talking to Nate from the South Lake Tribune here, and he was telling me that the Kingston testimony might be for hours, if not for days, because he is one of the key witnesses for the prosecution.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Marlene and John, we are not sure when the Belize angle or the text messages will be questioned about. We do know that the prosecution will touch it because they listed in the exhibit. We're not sure if the federal judge here will admit them into evidence. But I'll be in court for the entire day, listening to the testimony, and of course, when Jacob Kingston takes a stand, I'll be updating Facebook and see what comes out of his testimony.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think that we've said it several times, the primary matter that is to be extracted from Kingston's testimony is not necessarily the Belize issue.
Yes. It's not the issue here in the U.S.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I noted was that Kingston was never charged with bribery. He was never charged with bribery. He was charged with fraud, money laundering, and mail fraud. And Kingston, who managed to get a plea bargain with U.S. prosecutors and authorities here, will try to establish that Derman led the entire operation. Now, in Derman's defense, the attorney says that the Kingston brothers, they're a fraud operation. They're trying to put this on Derman, and Derman has nothing to do with it. He pointed out in court, I think it was a Monday, that there were no contracts, no records of any deal that Derman had entered into, no signature. I mean, there's no trace, there's no paper trace leading to Derman.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, the Belize issue is a bit of a footnote in terms of looking at how the money may have been laundered or used for other purposes. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's the case. We are hoping that the prosecutor would question Kingston about that. I asked yesterday when I approached one of the courtroom sources, he did say that Kingston was expected to stand yesterday afternoon, and when I asked him if the prosecution would be questioning in terms of the Belize angle, he said he could not say.
Yeah.
Again, not sure how much of that will be touched on.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Well, that's why we're happy to have you there, Hipólito, because you'll be our ears for the country to listen in specifically on issues relating to Belize.
Yes, I'm very happy as well, Marlene.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
keep us updated, and we'll look forward to the subsequent report tonight. You did say that you're not quite sure what time Jacob Kingston will take the stand, or if he will today, because there's one more witness before him, right?
Yes, there's one more witness before him. That's a person named Wallace, and he's one of the witnesses, key witnesses as well. We're not sure how many hours the prosecution and Mr. Deragos will go at him. Thereafter, Jacob Kingston will be called to stand trial.
Okay. All right. Well, we look forward to subsequent updates. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you as well, Marlene.
Stay warm.
I am.
Okay. Bye.
While yeah, I could see it. You feel a chill.
No, well, there was a snowstorm on Monday. I mean,
Yes.
that kind of weather
But
isn't fun
while
for anyone.
it is not necessarily a big deal in terms of the Belize aspect of their case, we know how big of a deal it is here at home, and to have Hipólito in Utah to bring to us updates of the situation there, it's
Yeah.
definitely something that is warming for our country, so we know exactly how to move forward.
I agree. I think the only thing I'd want to distinguish is it's not that it's not a big deal for
Yeah,
them.
true.
It is a part of their case. It is a part of establishing the connections that they had, the illegal activities that they were engaged in. That's what it seems to be at this point.
Yeah.
And, you know, to be clear, I think one of the things we know for sure is that the Turkish reporters or journalists are also there because similar to the situation with Belize, a part of establishing the case against Derman is looking at suspicious activities that took place within Turkey as well.
Yeah.
So it's a part of showing how not only was there fraud, but there were other very unscrupulous behaviors that took place, including what they have put in as evidence as bribing government officials in Belize. So, you know, it was really important for us to have our own ears there because this is such a massive case and the substantive matter is really about the fraud, and the Belize connection is a smaller portion of that. So, you know, sifting through news outlets to get what's happening in Belize, to understand what happened in court in regards to Belize, we wouldn't always get the information. So it's great to have Hippolyta there.
Yeah.
What came out of yesterday's report, I gotta say, is absolutely strange. The mention of the ex-president of Belize being in a dinner with a group of other people in Miami. We don't have a president. We don't have an ex-president. I guess it's a reference to a Belizean. We don't know who that is.
We don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Yes. So you know, having, like you mentioned, having Polo there definitely can dissect things for us the right way because we actually have eyes and ears there rather than to get hearsay. But you know, we're looking forward to what's next with them. Like you mentioned, Jacob Kingston will. There's somebody to testify before him, and thereafter we should be getting a report from Polo on this situation if and when Mr. Kingston get on the stand.
You know, and it's a really interesting week. Timing is really critical.
Yes, very.
We do know that the leadership convention for the United Democratic Party takes place on Sunday.
This Sunday.
The biggest name in this allegation, in the Lev Derman issue, is, of course, Honorable John Saldivar, who is up for the leadership convention. While he's flatly denied any involvement in terms of bribing, receiving bribes, we are yet to see. We do know that the evidence that has been submitted includes text messages between Jacob Kingston and Honorable Saldivar. So it's a matter of understanding what is being presented and what is the purpose behind it as well, and getting that information out to the public.
Yep, definitely. And all indications are that things will be rolling as per usual, as per normal, right here at home.
That's right. Okay, so we want to thank Hippolyta for that update.
Yes,
and
very much so.
we kind of cut off the eye-opener really quickly. But I think it was also one of the eye-openers that was really self-explanatory, just reminding us that the more important things is about the lessons you teach the kids rather than what you give them.
What you give to them.
Yeah.
Totally right. You know, in terms of spoiling the children, it's best to give them their mental independence. You know, give them the ability to think, give them the ability to ask questions and answer those questions rather than to say something that wouldn't allow them to get an answer. So that's, for me, being a parent, I think that's the way to go. That's the way we take care of business as well. It's always right for them to ask questions and then you answer.
But we got to get moving into our show
for
this morning.
Definitely, we're moving on. In terms of morning tea, would you like to strike something up? You have some time to strike something up? You know, I was thinking, because when you mix something up like a morning tea, it's actually to strike a conversation. And my conversation for today, quickly, is: do you believe in a morning person or a night person, or I'm not a morning person?
Ooh, that's a good one. We get asked that question all the time, don't we?
Yeah, we do. How do you do it in the morning? For me, to be, you want my side?
Well, it's a morning tea.
It is a morning tea, and it's a great conversation starter. So, do you believe that people are actually morning people or night people, or if it's what you tell them?
Yeah.
You know, but for me, I really, I don't believe it. For me, I don't believe in it. I think it's the way you start your morning. If you're a coffee person and that's the way you start your morning, then that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're a morning person or you're not a morning person. I feel that if you get things started the right way for yourself, or you put something in there to make things start the right way, then I think that you're just a regular person. That's just my thought. For me, I am an any time of the day guy.
Yeah, you know, I think that naturally, people are either larks or night owls. Like I believe that. And I think that there's substantial science to show that people perform better at different peak times. And in fact, it's always been one of the arguments with schools and how early they start, because typically with children, they need a bit more adjustment time in the morning to get themselves started. We always talk about this. People ask, why do you wake up so early? Because it takes time for your brain to really kind of get stimulated to have conversations. But I do fundamentally believe that some people are more prone to being night owls and some people are more prone to being larks. But what I do agree with is that no matter which one you are, you can train yourself to adjust. It doesn't mean you'll be at your peak performance, because if what you are naturally inclined to is what you're naturally inclined to. I've always been a morning person from school, you know, like I never stayed up late to study. I'd go to bed early and wake up early and study. It just worked better for me, and I tried all methods and that was what worked. So it is a lot more natural for me. But I know people who are far better at functioning by staying up late, because if you ask them to do it early morning, they just can't give you peak performance. I think there is some natural inclinations that we have, but you know, like everybody else who's learned to adjust to an 8 a.m. work schedule, you can of course put in a little bit more effort to try to perform. Maybe not your absolute best, but try to perform at that hour.
Definitely.
It's like during the day, everybody has different peak hours. Some people are like, they get in 8 a.m. and that's their power hour. Some people adjust in 10 to 12. Some people are after lunch. Some people have that afternoon spark. Yeah, we're all different.
I just love, and this is what I love about life, is that everybody is totally different, and it brings forth that excitement about life. If that's how you feel, and if that's the way you like to take care of things, and you're being productive while you're doing it, then that's no problem at all. And that's a good morning tea for me.
That's right. So chime in on it this morning, right?
Definitely.
And we got to get moving into the show.
Yeah, we've got a packed one for you for this morning. 3 wonderful segments. As a matter of fact, we'll be starting off with the president of the Belize National Teachers Union, Elena Smith, Senator Elena Smith, and as to update us with the current situation with the BNTU.
Yes, and the second part of our show, we're going to be talking to a representative of the Ministry of Public Service. So there is an employee assistance program that helps people in public service to cope with different challenges that they have. We're going to talk about that and find out how people can access help and what type of services they offer.
Excellent, excellent. And third and final segment for the morning will be featuring Nacho World. Not your world, you know, Nacho World and Nacho options and expanded menu as well. So we've got that and more for this morning.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and take that break, and we will be back in a few, so stay tuned.
With over 100 years of service excellence in Belize, the
And welcome back. Just like that, it is a lovely Wednesday morning out, and we're getting things started with a conversation with reps from the Belize National Teachers Union. It is an update, actually. In with us to talk to us about it is the president of the Belize National Teachers Union, Senator Elena Smith. I like that. And of course, Luke Palacio, who is the first vice president of the Belize National Teachers Union. I'd like to wish you guys a very pleasant morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
So, we've been hearing about this for a long time, and we know that the Belize National Teachers Union is is the largest union. And of course, they said teachers got your back, and the green shirt says it all. Mm-hmm. I would like for us to start as to, before the update, what situation we were before we had to get into a meeting with the Minister of Education. What prompted this situation?
Okay, if you would recall, in December we had a meeting with the ministry, and they presented some proposed amendments to the education rules. Those were 3 amendments: vacation, contracts, and emergency hiring. At that initial meeting, we were discussing those. We had several issues that we raised with them. As a matter of fact, from September, August actually, when this matter of the renewal came into being, and teachers had to sign contracts, we had been back and forth with them, emailing, sharing with them our concerns, trying to get them to resolve some of those matters before we actually got to the point of signing those contracts. We didn't get any headway there, and we were just back and forth. And then we had the matter of the Christmas vacation. The memo went out, teachers were given the additional week, and then we were informed that due to that memo, there had to be something that would have made that legal. Yes. So for that reason, the amendments came into being. So the amendments would have been then to address the matter of the 3 weeks Christmas break. And it contained the contracts, and then it contained emergency hiring. So 3 things in one. That didn't go through because the amendment, the SI was to be signed before the end of the school year. Well, not school year, sorry, the end of the year, December. And that didn't happen. And so we kept asking for the amendments, and we could not get them until this point, only to find out that they can't share anything with us if there's nothing. So we had this meeting to discuss these matters, and there was no draft or final draft of the amendment to present to us.
Yeah. It all started with a Christmas that landed on Wednesday. That's the strangest thing that led to what was the shift in the Ministry of Education deciding that you would get the 3 weeks, as is the custom in Belize, and needing to amend the regulations to allow for such. Now, you clearly mentioned there were 3 things, and there were sticking points with each one: the contracts, the establishment of the school calendar and who does it and how it's done, and also looking at the emergency posts.
Correct.
When we hear the back and forth that was taking place, it seemed the most prominent issue was looking at the school calendar. And from the ministry's perspective, what they were saying is, or what the impression was, is that the teachers are trying to get out of fulfilling this 180-day obligation. Is that the sense that you were getting? Is that a part of the contention there?
Well, Marlene and John, good morning, and good morning, Belize. Basically, this matter is where we've said to the ministry, and they have acknowledged to a certain extent, that they were the ones who were at fault. The education rules, as it relates to the vacation periods, are clearly stipulated in our handbook of policies for school services that came into being in 2000. That portion of that rule was never amended in the SI for the 2011 or 2012 amendment rules.
Yeah.
So that was not amended. All the ministry needed to do was to say, this is the rule, and we are abiding by the rule.
And to be specific, what rule?
The rule that says when the Christmas falls on a Wednesday or later, then you would get 2 weeks vacation.
132.4.
We insisted, or we said yes, but we are accustomed to 3 weeks. And I said to them yesterday in the meeting that if they had indicated and made it known, this is the rule, all we are simply doing is abiding by the rules. But they decided, okay, you want 3 weeks? We're going to give you 3 weeks, but we're going to make this amendment, which we have not supported, we are not supporting. And because what that would have done is that there would be total chaos and uncertainty as to when our vacation periods would start.
So the context for this is that it's been tradition that you always get 3 weeks,
Yes.
even though there are clear guidelines in the education rules that say if it's Thursday, Friday, or later in the week, it's 2 weeks, and if it's earlier, then it's 3 weeks.
Yes.
But when it falls middle of the week, that's where there were some
Correct.
subjectivity there.
Well, not necessarily subjectivity. The subjectivity would have come in when the ministry decided at this time, with some knee-jerk reaction, that we are going to implement the rule. This government has been in power for the past 12 years, and this would have been the first year that they decided they are going to implement that. So it's a knee-jerk reaction, and so that it could have been to enable them to decide now, the chief education officer will have all the power to determine when the vacation period will be held, and that you are going to ensure that we are going to have 180 school days every year. We pointed out to them yesterday that if we look at the agreement that BNTU negotiated many years ago, from a 40-week school year to a 38-week school year, that still gives you 190 days. If you multiply the 38 times 5. Good? So we have 190 days within that period. Now, if the ministry has allowed, through negotiations, for organizations, managements, and union to be given days to hold activities for their membership, which would then be considered non-school days, then that would still not take away, because I'm almost certain that we don't have 10 such days. And we believe at the union, when we would have negotiated a benefit for our members, that we are not going to let it go so easily. If conditions change that merits such a change, then fine, we may be able to agree through negotiations that yes, the conditions have changed, and so therefore we will accept certain changes. But because one of the points they are coming with is that teachers in the rural areas are given time off to collect their salaries. That was never dependent or based on any road condition or improvements to the communities. The fact remains that all of these teachers must come to the center, the metropolis, the town, to do their business transactions on payday.
Yeah.
And so now because, okay, this road is now paved, then you must get less time. It cannot be, the distance is still the same. So those type of arguments we need to defend.
And that brings a lot of clarity into the issue, because there are two things. I mean, the education rules has as it is before this issue, had it very clearly stipulated when the Easter break is. It looks at when the school year would start, end, and the Christmas break. And what the proposed change was going to be was that the chief education officer, in this case, Dr. Carol Babb, would decide on an annual basis all of these start dates, end dates, holiday breaks. And this was an issue for you. Can you explain why?
Because, Marlene, one person would be determining how you, as you said, how you set the school year, how that calendar would be. But it's not just the fact that one person would be doing it. It's also that our school years or school calendar would not be consistent. And so you wouldn't know from year to year whether we are going to start on September 5th or September 6th or the second week in September, we're going to end in. So that would have posed some problems, because schools plan around these things. Parents plan around them as well.
Yes.
And people plan ahead of time. And so those then inconsistencies would create issues for parents, for schools, for teachers as well. But more so for our students and our parents.
And what is the justification? Because I think that's a valid argument in looking at just knowing ahead of time that I can look at this date, and based on the education rules, that should be the start date, that should be the end date, rather than waiting for an announcement by one individual. What was their argument as to why this was the better option?
I don't know that it was an option. It was a decision that they made under the guise that they could now institute this 180 contact days for students and teachers. And the only way they could have done that is to say, well, because in this 38-week period, BNTU has so many days for meetings. Managements have so many days to do, in fact, I think it's 3 days for
Correct,
managements
3.
that is stipulated. And then if the ministry or if anybody else decides we need to declare a non-school day for so and so, then you'll be able to make it up this way. Because then the school year would not be set in accordance with those vacation periods as stipulated in Rule 132 in the 2000 rules. So that was the bottom line. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to have a window where they could have ensured that
Enforced.
180 days is had, but you can still enjoy some of these things, and your vacation period will become.
Was there any consideration for the fact, because what you said before is also important. We know when the unions negotiated, so I mean, you guys play hardball. That's just what people expect from you. So when you came to that agreement of 38 weeks the first time around, if you were to shift the education rules to say that the chief education officer would decide the calendar, they would still need to abide by what the previous agreement was of 38 weeks.
But that doesn't seem to have been the intention there, because they were not paying any attention. You see, when they made that amendment, if you look at the proposed amendment, they were saying that they are going to amend that Rule 132, which then would mean it's at the whim and fancy of the chief. It is not that they were saying, okay, we're going to keep 132, but so and so. It's saying, no, we're going to rescind, we're going to
The entire rule.
replace that entire rule. And then the chief education officer will decide.
So let's talk about what progress was made yesterday. I mean, it
On that,
seemed
like,
that
from
the
that
frustration was
perspective.
building. We know the green shirts came out. That's always kind of the first warning flag. And you attended the meeting. It was almost all day with the education team. What progress have you made on this issue?
Well, if you notice, the shirts are still out, right? You've not put them up yet.
Duly noted.
All right, duly
Yeah.
noted indeed.
So, okay, so in terms of the vacation period, we've agreed that the rules will remain as they are right now. And so 132, the entire 132 that speaks to your Christmas break, your Easter break, your summer break will remain. Those won't be changed.
Okay.
So it means that teachers can now be aware that your breaks will be set as per rules, and so then you would clearly know when I must report to work, when I am on vacation, that kind of thing. Schools can better prepare themselves, the school calendar, even though it's the ministry who's going to do that. But that will remain as is. So that's just for the vacation period. No.
So in effect, the agreement yesterday was that proposed amendment has been
Taken off the
scrapped.
table.
Okay.
Right. So the issue with that too is the fact that we were given the additional week in December, and the ministry is of the view that we must make up the time. We've said to them that we are not in agreement to make up any time. The ministry gave us, and we had to make it clear. Dr. Bobby, you were on the media saying that minister gave the teachers asked, and the minister gave them their wishes. And the minister said he gave us our wishes.
Okay.
So if you gave us those days, why ask us to make them back? Make up those days back. So what they've said that they will put forth that matter to the joint staff, and the joint staff should be looking at the 180 days and to see where, if any school is short of 180 days, and determine how those will be made up.
By adding on at the end of June, or by cutting down on Easter break? What's proposed?
Yeah.
Well, they've not proposed anything, and we have to wait and see what it is that they will propose, and we have to then ensure that whatever they propose is not going against any of those rules.
Okay. You know, one of the things that I think, because people would say that the teachers union, the BNTU actually get riled up at any for anything that arises in front of them. Teachers union, this teachers union, that. Now, in terms of how decisions are made between the BNTU and the Ministry of Education, what's that process like? Are you guys on the table when decisions are made, or decisions are made and then passed on to you, and you just okay, implement it across? You know, the reason I ask this is because it brings to one's mind that, okay, we're given this, and then we just have to serve that out, while we can come together to stop all this fighting between the ministry and, of course, BNTU. Do we sit at a table and make decisions together?
There are times when we do so, and it is when they think that we should come to the table. So we have not been operating as if though we are true partners. And we've said that to them. Listen, if we are partners, then anything that has to do with education, BNTU is a legal entity that deals with these matters. And so as opposed to inviting all of these other associations who are not responsible for looking after teachers' welfare, you should invite the BNTU because we are the ones who are legally bound to deal with these matters. When it's convenient or when they think that it might be a problem, they would call us to the table, but they will call us to the table to tell us this is what we are planning to do and this is how we will do it, and as if to say, well, you know what, I informed them or I got their consent or that kind of thing, and it's not always that way. So when they come to the table and we disagree with them, then that creates issues because especially if they think that it's an easy sell, and when they come to us, you know, we have issues, then that's what creates these issues again. But as I said before, if it is that the ministry is really serious about inviting us and engaging us as partners to sit around and seriously consider these things, those things would be done from the beginning. Not wait until when teachers get riled up. Because when teachers get this way, it is hard to bring them down back to zero.
Well, and that's what I was trying to understand. You know, yesterday's meeting was an emergency meeting, it seems, and it was all day. It seems there was quite a bit of negotiation taking place. You can tell us what happened behind the scenes if you want. But, you know, where did the breakdown happen? Because you were invited to that first meeting and presented with these amendments to the education rules. We know you did because the union has its own process, which many have said is a bit lengthy, where you go back to your membership to get some kind of consensus. But where did the breakdown happen?
I think in December when we left that meeting, the contention was the matter of